Welcome back. I'm really excited this morning. It's the start of a long planned solo voyage, an odyssey if you like. The plan is to take Vicar to Plymouth. Plymouth's about 50 miles or so by sea. So my plan is to come down the Dart, cross Start Bay. I want to stop over in Salcombe for the night, then carry on across Bigbury Bay and round into Plymouth Sound. The plan is then that my wife joins me in Plymouth for the weekend and we try and make it up the Tamar, about 14 miles to Catili Quay. We're then going to come back down. We'll explore Plymouth a little bit by boat. I'll drop my wife back off at the railway station and make my way back home. So day one is to Salcombe. So I'm going to set off about 7:30, right on the tide, come down the Dart, as I said, across Start Bay, and round Start Point and Prawl Point as well. That'll be fun. Try and make that for when the tide changes. And then into Salcombe. The wind is variable. There's a difference of opinion on the models here, but it's set to build all day. I'm really looking forward to the sail today, but as I plan this passage, there are two crucial things in my head. The first thing is getting past Start Point before the tide changes. All morning it's wind with tide, so it should be nice and flat. In the afternoon, not so much. Also, I want to get into Salcombe way before the tide gets to its lowest point. When I bought Vicar, she came with lots of very small fenders. I think that's a stowage issue. I bought some nice big fat ones, and I find they stow in the anchor well really, really well. And I tie them in around the bowsprit to make sure I don't lose them. Eagle-eyed regulars will notice the new pod on the dock there. It's electrical outlet and a freshwater tap. Not actually connected yet, but it will be very useful very soon. Off the pontoon and heading down the river. The river's really quiet this morning. Past the cottage at Greenway Quay. And down into the town. Out into the mouth of the estuary, and hey, somebody's parked a cruise ship in my way. It's huge. It's a little bit too big to get right into town. They'll be ferrying passengers in and out all morning. The weather is fantastic and I got lovely calm conditions to sort my sails out, get them hoisted and get on my way to Start Point.
That was out in the main anchorage, and my chain was fastened on an old fisherman anchor. It was recovered about an hour and a half ago, and the guys at the rig told me that they would bring it back to me within about an hour. I'm just wondering whether you can give an update on that, please, over.
Yes, we've just been dealing with the ship for the major plan, and we'll be out with it as soon as.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Understood. Are you able to give me an approximate time frame, over?
Hopefully within the next hour or so, over.
Fine, I've received this. Yeah, understood. Many thanks. I'll stand by on channel 11. Out.
I really hope he got his anchor back. Sails up, and I can start making my way slowly but surely across Start Bay to Start Point. It's about 6-7 miles.
Can access is through the piers by there, this new landing spot or whatever. Okay. Opposite side of the river. Okay, because with this one we can now get going out, so he will proceed there.
I had a brief encounter with a small pod of dolphins, but they weren't really interested in playing. As predicted, the wind had picked up and I'm bowling along beautifully now, right towards the start point. I make it just as the tide is changing, but needed to motor sail for a little bit just to make sure. Also, annoyingly, the wind's right on the nose now, about 14-15 knots. With the sea state rising, the wind in the wrong direction, and the tide dropping in Salcombe, I decide to blast through with the engine for the last mile or so, make sure I get there before low tide. There is a shallow bar at the entrance to Salcombe Harbour. Now, theoretically, with my draft, I can get in at any state of the tide, but you're never quite sure how much swell there's going to be and what sort of state the water's going to be in. So I've arrived an hour and a half before low water, just to make sure. If you're coming into Salcombe from the east, it looks like you go round Gammon Head and just head for the entrance. But you can't do that. It's really shallow on the right. It's all sand. So what you've got to do is head for the cliffs. In fact, you've got to head to the opposite side of the bay, as close to those cliffs as you dare. I was very pleased to find myself following in a much larger yacht. Now, he had at least 3 times the draft that I've got and came in really, really slowly. So as long as I followed him, I'd be absolutely fine. Got down to about 3.5 metres in the end, so wasn't too bad. Now there is still a little bit of fishing out of Salcombe. This boat's Dartmouth registered, but of course its main trade now is tourism. It's one of the swankiest places in South Devon, really rather upmarket. Geographically, it's an absolutely lovely place to be. It's a ria, a flooded river valley. There's no actual river running through it. And it's the playground of the rich and famous. Some fabulous yachts in here. And even though this is early July and the kids haven't broken up yet, of course, private schools have. And I can tell you where they all are. They're all on these private beaches here or on Daddy's rib.
Yeah, this yacht just coming in by me now. They're going to go up an anchor by Silkmore, so I'll check them in the tablet, but just so you know where they're going. Sounds fantastic. Yeah, many thanks.
Now it's pretty obvious that Salcombe is in fact full today. I did radio the harbour ahead, and this young lady came to meet me. Salcombe is hugely popular and gets an awful lot of boats in the summer, but is incredibly well run. The harbour's run by the council, and is probably the best run of anywhere in South Devon. It's incredible. So this young lady met me at just off the town, asked me what I wanted to do, what I needed for the night. Being a shrimper, the options are far more than most boats. So I said a mooring if possible, or I'm happy rafting up at the bag, which is sort of floating pontoons further up the estuary. Or failing that, I'm happy just anchoring up by the Saltstone. It's nice and quiet up there.
With a 7-metre yacht here, preferably you would like to go onto the visitors pontoon. Have we got any space up there?
Hamstone Harbour Office, yeah, there's plenty of rafting options for 10-metre boats up there, over.
Okay, all received, thank you.
So she radioed up further up the estuary to find out what the space was like, and obviously there's plenty of options for 10-metre yachts up there, so that's fine. I'm thinking in my head, though, I don't fancy rafting up with bigger boats on a floating pontoon, so I'll probably head up the estuary and find somewhere nice and quiet to anchor away from all of this hullabaloo.
It's a small shrimpet, very small vessel, probably not appropriate to go alongside any of the yachts on the VP River. Here, the 21-foot shrimpet has just gone past you. Salcombe.
There's yachts rafted up to 3 up on these moorings. But as it happened, she caught me up just about 5 minutes later and said that if I fancied it, they'd found an unused private mooring, residence mooring, and I could have that for the night if I liked. It's a nice, sheltered, quiet part of the estuary. I snapped up the chance. After coffee and biscuits and a bit of a rest, to be honest, it's time to start thinking about an evening meal. I'd planned tonight to do a chorizo and rice and vegetables, one of my favourites on the board, and you can do it in one pot. I am a great fan of ceramic knives on board boat. They stay sharp really well, and they don't go rusty at all. Start by chopping up a chorizo ring. I like chorizo because you don't have to refrigerate it, just keep it cool. No fridge on board Vicar. So taking the skin off and slicing it fairly thinly. The other good thing about chorizo is it's packed full of all of the oil it needs and all of the flavour it needs. So chop that up, put it in the pan, and that oil will sweat out nicely. No need to add anything else at all. Once it's started to sizzle, I'm adding a small onion, cut lengthways, the proper way. And then your veg of choice. My veg of choice today is a red pepper, but you can pretty much add anything. Celery works really well with this. In fact, green pepper works even better. I'm going to use half a red pepper here. Meanwhile, my chorizo and onions are sizzling nicely, starting to sweat now. Pepper doesn't need to be in big chunks, and it will cook really quickly. Make sure it's not sticking. These gas stoves tend to run really quite hot, and they're difficult to keep very, very cool. In with the pepper, and that will only take about 5 to 10 minutes or so. Here we are, all sizzling away and nearly finished. Now at this point, I would probably have normally just added a cup of rice and some stock, and then maybe seasoned it. But I'm being really lazy today, and I want my dinner quite quickly. So open a beer, and then open a pre-prepared pouch of savoury rice. That will just need putting in there to warm up. I know it's a cheat, and I know it's not really cooking, but it does taste good. Stir it round properly. At this point, probably needs a little bit of water in there, a little bit of fluid. That rice is pre-cooked, but it will absorb pretty much everything that's already in the pan. I haven't got any water, so a slug of beer will do it. And here we are. This is the finished article. This looks a bit like paella, I suppose. Yeah, let's call it paella. Let's call it paella. Now, in most sailing vlogs or sailing cookery programs, the author would be eating it straight out of the saucepan using the spoon they used to stir it with. But not me, no, because my wife watches this. So I'm putting it into a proper bowl and eating it like a normal human being. There. I would never eat it out of the saucepan. The very thought. Yep, tastes excellent, but does need a little bit of pepper. Fresh black pepper makes all of the difference. Okay, time for dinner. Bon appetit, everybody. Dinner over and washed up, and it's time to contemplate the day and plan the next phase of my odyssey tomorrow, Salcombe to Plymouth. Find out how I got on. See you next time. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe, and share if you can. Good night.